your sermon, Words That We Cannot Say, as you received that word from God, what was the inspiration for that message?
So there's actually several things that are happening because you're looking at world events, um, things that have happened with George Floyd. The protests are happening. There's part of the passage in Judges chapter 12, like in Jephthah's history, actually, where you learn that like his brothers weren't really cool to him. So I've experienced that. So that's something that I'm even dealing with even now, just trying to fight with my family. Some of that infighting that families do, and so part of that played into the creation of what you heard on Sunday.
Don't you find it interesting how God is able to take the word as He inspires us and make it relevant to what's going on in our lives or what's currently going on in society? I find that amazing. I still find that amazing how God is able to do that with His word as we present His word.
Yeah, it is. Because I mean, we always teach and we talk about how relevant the word is, and that you can find all of your issues and your problems, all your highs, your lows. So it's rather incredible how the Bible finds its way to staying relevant and making sure that it speaks to the issues, even if you don't have a specific verse for what's happening in your life. There's something, a story, a passage, something that can help you connect with it. And I think that's why the word is better at living, as a living document, a living library, as opposed to just any other book.
So, as you identified in your sermon, words that's difficult or words that we cannot say, love, forgiveness, honor. Why do you believe these words, we find them so difficult in applying them in our lives and to others as we interact?
So, coming up with the three words was actually really difficult. And taking a break when I was at work, I actually went on Facebook and came across another preacher's page that I'm friends with, and she had described something that she done that she didn't think was within her to do. So she kind of surprised herself. So she had a transparent moment on Facebook, and at the bottom of her post were four words. So she put love, she put honor, she put forgive, and then she put live. And that's when the sermon opened up for me. The fact that we know what love is, but we don't always demonstrate it well, we don't always describe it well. The fact that we don't really honor people and assign value to people until they're of use to us, and forgiveness because we have issues letting things go. So those were the three words that stuck out to me and that helped connect me to the passage out of the blue. And as soon as I saw them, I knew then these were the three words that I wanted to work with, even though there's probably several more words that we have problems saying.
So, have you had personal challenges with those particular words in your life, and kind of what were some of those?
I think it's probably easier to segue into it this way. That the congregation assumes that we live a more perfected life, and that is never the case. That we have to live day by day and sometimes step by step, just like they do, and that we have no better connection to God than they do. So living out love and honor and forgiveness is difficult every single day. And I'm living a lot of what I preached on Sunday, even in this moment, even today. Just having to fight with family or coworkers, sometimes people on the street, because just like, why would you do what you're doing, or why would you say that? Why are we fighting about this? Because this doesn't even make any sense. So, living the word that you preach and preaching the word that you live is very much part of what I try to do in sermon prep and in sermon delivery, because it's easier for me to preach to me than it is just to preach to be preaching.
I found it very compelling because it is such a challenge, and especially now what we are seeing and witnessing in society. and even in the church and in our homes, that it can be so difficult. Communication is often difficult within itself, but now once we get encumbered with our own weights, whether it's challenged with love or challenged with forgiveness and honor, and especially honor seems to be something that's waning in the society and in this generation. We seem to have a real difficulty in honoring each other and honoring those even who have come before us.
I feel that we've lost a little sense of community. How about that? Just that as the generations have progressed, that we don't recognize the struggles that other people have had in order to make life easier for what we're dealing with now. So I think surely now we are seeing historic times. So this will most likely make it into history books, and we'll see and study this and talk about this exact moment, the protests, the brutality of the police, all of that I think will come to pass in books, and kids will learn about this. So I wonder what we'll say about this in 20 years. You know, was this what we call at my job, we call this an inflection point, that there is an event that happens that changes the direction that we go. So just in terms of honor, like Jesus said, for example, that the prophet is without honor except for where he comes from. So I mean, those folks at home didn't really like him, but he was well received outside of his own community. So we kind of see that even happening now, where folks are fighting. It doesn't even seem real. It doesn't even seem like it makes sense. Some of the things that are going on and how the dialogues work, and watching it on TV and how they play liberal against conservative. And a lot of times these two people are saying the exact same thing, but they don't seem to connect at all. So there's no honor in listening. There's no connection in understanding what each other is saying, even though we're all saying the same thing. And so now, what do you do with that? Because we're listening to reply as opposed to listening to understand.
That's why I think it's so important for us as we apply the Word of God that was expressed to us through this sermon from Reverend Neal, words we cannot say. You must be able to move past those things that would so inhibit you that you can't say, I'm sorry, that you can't say, I love you, that you can't say that I need to honor you in certain situations, and that we cannot allow that as we apply this word. Never let it be said. Wouldn't it be horrible that some person that you needed to say, I love you, they were needing that, and you failed to do it because of something personally going on within you, that you needed to say, I forgive you, not knowing and not understanding that forgiving them releases you. So we never want it to be said that we are living in a time with words that we cannot say, because we understood there was a liberation that came forth once these words, once these actions were taken. So please, always be willing to move beyond what's hindering you, and never let it be said that there are words that I cannot say that would bring life to the listener or those who would hear.